I audible? Yeah. Hello. Am I audible? Yeah. Thank you. So, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everybody enjoyed the meal here. So now our next speaker is Kaulav Bhagat, an alumni of SEPT and NID, is a senior assistant professor at SEPT University and a program chair of Masters in Furniture Design. He has over 2 decades of experience working in multidisciplinary design fields at Mumbai and Ahmedabad. He follows the philosophy of learning while doing to teach furniture design to student, which also help him to steer SEP workshop as a head. He is interested in doing experiment with materials and its technique. His design process is based on fundamentals such as geometry, structure, tectonic, and aesthetics. So making is the core activity when he conducts any design studio course or workshop. Can we have Kaulav Bhagat? Yeah.
Just one thing, yeah, let it done. Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's really a pleasure seeing a lot of young faculties going into the field of teaching designs to the younger generation. I think that is really good because we want young people coming into teaching profession, because that's what really a lot of people don't consider coming in actually. But teaching is a noble profession, and we see a lot of young people coming and giving their time and energy to teach again a young professional. So good to see you all. As let's say after lunch sessions, generally people would like to like nice AC atmosphere, soft cushioning chair. People would love to sleep, but we have taken care that of say that you will not sleep, and you will be little active in doing something, since it is design and making track, and not very it's in a fun way. We would like to really understand this aspect of making in design process. It's really crucial, and lot of universities such as SEPT and otherwise internationally going towards this whole idea of learning while doing, and that is the one of the core and thirst area of lot of universities. So I'm not going into the presentation like other two very extremely interesting presentations and very thought-provoking presentations. We would like to directly come out and start working something here. As you can see, there are some of the materials lying in front of you, and we would like that you come and make something. I'll explain what one needs to do. So the whole idea is that since making is always a collaborative kind of a process, that we would like that we work here in the pair of two, right? So two people working together, right? So you can select your partner. There are some materials lying in front of you, some of them here and some of them on that table. There are simple two shapes, like a simple strip, right, rectangle, and one is an L-shaped kind of a strip, which is paper. It's nothing very hard or complex. It is also in number same, right? What you need to do using these strips, you need to there is this boundary marked here in A3 paper, right? You need to enclose the boundary using these two shapes. You cannot cut these shapes, right? But you can fold, you can twist, right? And you can utilize the way you want. Only thing, you cannot cut it, right? How you join this? You are joining this with the stapler. Okay, so the joining process is also simple. You join this, if you want to join them, you join with the stapler, so it's easy to staple and join them. So basically, as an interior design profession, we always works with the space, right? And as last presentation we seen, there are a lot of elements of space, right? Like floors, ceilings, walls, and etc. So we would like that somehow you use this units, which we call a unit 1, unit 2, and you want to, we would like to enclose the space in whichever form you want. There is no restriction. So as one of the earlier speaker also mentioned, that when there is a constraint in design process, there is a creativity, right? So these are the constraint. These 2 unit shapes, no cutting, only folding, possible folding, twisting, whichever way, right? Only staplers is used, right? And this boundary. So these are the constraint. Rest is your creativity and your imagination, right? We are going to give you approximately 1 hour. Let's see how things go, right? And then from there, we will conclude this session somehow. Like there is other one simple things at the end of the session, but we would like to do that, and I'll show some of the examples and why making in design process is important as a design. Whether it's a interior design or a furniture design, but let's see how we can go about it. So this is more like very interactive kind of session. So in a pair, you can select, you can start coming forward and occupy your space. Let's say there are 6 team can work here and 8 teams can work there. Good, I think.
They can pair it themselves, no?
Yeah, you can decide, your friends, enemies, whosoever. Strangers. I think the idea is not to do much of a sketching or anything. You can start building. So it's not that you try and do too much of conceptualizing, but the conceptualizing happens in this process of making only. Pencil is, you can sharpen. There is a, if you want to draw anything, you can draw on that page. You can turn the page, draw whatever. But the pencil is for another reason. You have to write something at the end. You can come on the other side. One person standing here, the other person can stand on this side. You can, it's not necessary. It's done.
Done.
It can start from
But the pairs can stand opposite to each other. Rather than side by side, the pairs
pair can come
opposite to each other.
that you will guys, one second. Stapler is the tool to join these two strips which you want to join. You have to join individually, they will not stand and you cannot enclose the space. It's not a flat pattern we are making a space. As an interior designer, we are working with a space, not a flat pattern. Out of our this given, it is smaller, half you want to whichever just part of it. But within this area, it's not about 2D, it's about 3-dimensionality.
1 second. So it's not a 2D pattern. So that's the reason is not vertical horizontal. You only will be able to take the or it is almost like an angle. This boundary is your may go even smaller. You may not exactly make a rectangle, a circular or triangular whichever way. You may start from the middle and go upwards, whichever way. So that is what I'm saying straight lines. Not to restrict. So always we have to like show you that as it is, if you think it's a 2D, right? Once you fold it, right, and you use it, then you get a three-dimensional module. Now, as it is with one module, you repeat, or you make several modules, whichever way. And you can bend it? You can bend it?
Yeah, we can. Except for cutting, we can.
Stapler is better, it's big, faster, because Fevicol will take a lot of time. Fevicol is if you want to stick now, this keep files, or otherwise also. Stapler also there are techniques.
Shikha is a student.
Quick. You can. So much possession. I think it's too early to fall in love with our own work.
We learned from our students, sir. We learned that from our students.
All right, so I think we should clap for ourselves for this wonderful effort. I think it's a quick exercise. We can take it as far as possible. But we stop it here just for the purpose that now let's say this exercise I have given to you, right? Some constraint I have put and you started making it, right? Now let's say with the same exercise, with same unit, everything same, technique, everything same, and this exercise if you would like to give it to your students, okay, then how will you give this exercise individually, now not in the pair, right? And what you will consider, what are the factors, parameters, or for why you will give this exercise. Right now, so I have told you that there is no as such a motive or anything, it's just making, right? But now if you are giving to your students, then there is a some motive behind this exercise, right? So that is what we would like to see now. So I'm just sending you one page, right? Pass. We just quickly, there is name of faculty, means your name, name of institute, undergrad program or postgrad program, year, semester, name of studio, if at all you are teaching or it's a fictitious studio or a course, or and that after that there is a objective of a studio and a course, right, in which this exercise will be given. So what is that objective of this exercise for that studio and that course? Then task, how will you tell students what to do and how to do, right? And then after this, after they make it, what is their learning outcome, what they will learn from this exercise, same exercise, right? You got the paper, everyone? Oh, less? I don't. Plain paper, huh? It's okay. You can same, plain paper, just, yeah, diary, just this. एक sec, Anshuman, can you give me that paper? So you can see it from your neighbor if you don't have, but what you need to write, name of the faculty means your name, okay, name of the institute, which program, it's an undergrad program or a postgrad program, right, year and semester, then name of the studio or a course which you are teaching or want to teach. Now when you give this exercise in the studio, what is the objective of the exercise, why you will give this exercise, right? And then the task means simply how they will perform the way just now you performed, so that's a task, right? And then the learning outcome means what they will learn after doing this exercise. So learning outcome is not that you fold the paper and learn how to staple, that's not learning, okay, that's simply the physical activity or a task. Learning outcome means little mental, what they learn or they will remember even after your course will get over, right? And then they will use that learning outcome to do something else also. So that's the power of learning outcome. So that much you have to write quickly in maybe 15-20 minutes. We will take some samples and see what you are thinking about this exercise. I think that's the learning outcome of this exercise. Would like to start at least to give some feedback on that, what you have written? Anybody? Because we would like to hear that, that's the whole idea. Whatever, whichever way, so at least others will understand, or it's more like a give and take kind of a thing. Anybody would like to start? You want to? Ma'am? Yeah. Ma'am. Just give a mic so that everybody, it's okay? So
an objective Semester 1 first year, and that is a basic design wherein the objective is they get along with each other as they are all first semester.
So you are thinking same way it's a pair exercise.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
You are thinking as a again a group exercise, right? Like this.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But it is the main objective is to become an icebreaker
Okay,
for the
great.
students.
All right, yeah.
So one thing I have changed is that they can fold, twist, and have a half cut,
Okay.
and they cannot stick or staple.
Okay. So just by like the half cutting, they will make it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
And the learning outcomes are: one is teamwork, second is working in a short time frame,
Okay.
and third is respecting each other's ideas but finding the best way out.
Okay. Good.
Thank you.
પાછળ ત્યાં પાછળ because it's getting recorded,
Okay.
so it's better.
I have thought this for it could be either for first year or second year, but right now specifically I'm talking about second year.
Okay.
I actually, by doing it, I found that it is a very good means to understand the components of a
Very.
space.
Hmm.
What happens is, actually, let's say I ask my students, as in, when you talk about a space, what is a space actually made up of? So they naturally reply walls and windows. So they are confined with the elements that they constantly see. So
Okay.
here they can define space in their own methods. So I think that is a good means to do that.
Okay.
Then impacts of forms. Let's say they understand negative and positive spaces better when they actually do it. It's like it's an hands-on exercise.
Correct.
Then understanding the third dimension of a form.
Hmm.
So what happens, they plan things in their head, but when they put it on paper, they really struggle to actually give it a form. मतलब उसका third dimension वो समझ नहीं पाते.
Correct.
So these are the three main objectives that can be of the exercise. And the learning outcomes, hence they are a result of this only, which is exploration of forms, understanding space as a concept, and basically organizing the units. So organization part is also
Okay.
something that I was...
So okay, I think it's a good approach. Like, so what you have done is that one is that when you are giving the elements, so you are thinking about the elements that, let's say these are abstract units. They are not defined as any of the functional unit, but they are abstract in that sense. So now through this abstraction, how they can learn about reality.
As an extension, like for the second year, if I was talking about, I thought of it that before, like when I'm introducing the exercise, I would not say about what the result would be.
Correct, correct.
So I would just give them the units,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
even not the extension. So extension can be, once they come up with such forms, they have to sort of incorporate functionality into it. So then when renovation projects, or if certain spaces also comes into role, they can understand what things can be changed or what can be perceived as something else.
So hold on, yeah. So that's what exactly. So see, sometime I'm talking about a larger thing now. Sometimes when we there are two things in the form or a paper, which is one is an objective of an exercise, and then learning outcome of the exercise. Most of the time we think both are same, but they are not same, right? So when you say that it's a resultant of objective is become learning outcome, so it is not actually. So objective, when you are saying, then as rightly just now you said, or you explained initially the objectives, that how to do the organization, use two elements, 2D form converted into 3D, all those things can be an objective. The learning outcome, precisely what you said at the last, where this thing they can use to do and understand a conservation or a renovation project. That's the larger understanding of a learning outcome, right? So there you are not talking about elements and same thing, which is objective. Objective is that you have given something, right? And through that task they fulfilling the objective, but the learning outcome is like a larger goal. Right, so even sometimes whatever earlier presentation Yatin sir also said, some of the important principles like sustainability and societal awareness and all those things, those can be learning outcomes. Can be. Right, I think good. Anybody else would like to? Ek minute, let's have a mic.
Yes, I was thinking that this is of course going to be a basic design exercise.
Okay.
It's learning elements of design
Okay.
from lines to shape to form.
Correct.
So that could be the outcome as to how the lines intersect with each other and eventually become a shape, and shape eventually is eventually converted into a form. Also with this, assuming I'm not looking at conservation here, I'm looking at a space which is probably a playground, and how sun path, if we introduce, how these lines eventually create those beautiful shadows.
Okay.
At different hours, the land looks different,
Okay.
or the space looks different.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. What I thought about.
Okay. So here is like, I think.
And of course, I also thought that because we have two different modules and then we combine them, and how these combination of these modules also create pattern. So I think basic design is more or less.
Okay.
that
So
way.
let's say, I think good observation there. And then I think what you are trying to say is that rather than I am talking about, let's say, finally as an outcome, learning outcome pattern, or those are, I think, an objective. Then what I am trying to teach student here is how to modulate a light as an element of a space, and that you can use it to really define the space, or really enhance the space, or emphasize the space. So that can be a goal of this kind of exercise also, because you can see lot you can do with light, right? So that is. Yes, sir.
So what I think is, and again, in conjunction with what we were talking about, thank you. In conjunction with what I was talking about as well, is that actually suddenly when you're given a material, that itself and the making, which is also new, right? Which we may think it's so simple, it's so crafty, right? You just have a stapler and this. You're not thinking of cement and brick mortar and all of that. It should ideally be simple.
Yeah.
But even here, this itself became so much of a constraint that I think if this is introduced in between also as a smaller exercise, suddenly, after giving up on this or finishing this for whatever outcome, the outcome could also be that when you're given any other exercise which is free and open of making, I think that realization for students should be so good that now we don't have any making constraint. We don't have a material, we don't have anything else. Therefore, we have higher scope of imagination.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah,
so
that's
this
the
itself, imagine, I mean, this of course can be loaded with function.
Yeah.
You
Later,
can have
yes.
different constraints, you can load it.
Yeah.
But not being loaded with this material constraint
First.
itself means giving you freedom
to think.
Freedom
Correct.
to think.
So one of the idea of this kind of an exercise is not only that's what I have written purposefully, post graduation also, right? So let's not think always as a basic design exercise. Lot of things like in between this on a larger project, you can interperse with smaller exercises. That's what I think Neeraj also discussed in the morning, that you break down your studios or your courses into smaller modules, right? And when you introduce something like this, then students have more scope, understanding of your larger context, what you want to teach them, right? So it's better. So this can come at the various different points and location of your entire curriculum or a studio processes or whatever, right? So, and even not thinking about the materiality at this point, but now let's say paper is kind of this where you can twist, fold. Now which other material can try and do this for a larger space and scale and actual material that can give you some clues, some ideas, and which can be modified later on. So I think these are the exercises which can also trigger a lot of interesting thoughts.
So this is more of an observation or question rather than
Yeah.
I was just going around looking at different teams working. It's an exercise okay with them,
Yeah.
but when they produce such an exercise for the students, Do you think that they should, out of maybe 60 minutes, give first 10 minutes just for them to think about it, maybe sketch or
yeah,
not?
Yeah, they can do that. For the reason we have, I told them some of them, if you want to draw
You can
behind the
yes,
paper and
yes.
pencil is there. I think sometimes directly dwell into the material and three dimensionality can also help. Moment you go down with pencil paper, you again limiting yourself.
Okay.
Because sometimes what we have seen, some students are good with direct three dimensionality, and some students are very good with sketching, those abilities. So I think some exercise, let's say those kind of where pencil paper exercises, some this, so both kind of students can be benefited out of it. I think those things are very important in that sense.
Because I was observing a few of them,
Yeah.
they started with something and they thought, no, this is probably not working, so just diverge.
So I think making is always like improvisation. That's the important thing in making. So while you are making, you are improvising it and to suit the need of whatever you are doing it. Whatever objective you have set up, you think यार ये काम नहीं कर रहा है, इसको ऐसे करे, उसको ऐसे करे, and in that the learning happen. Therefore, not putting so much of burden of function and other things, and you can really give a freedom to students. Yeah.
Sir, I also thought that this could be taken a little further into second year, fourth semester or fifth semester sort of level, where the same exercise can actually be a very good thing, where they explore modular concept or modular elements, learn how repetitions work, how using one technique. If the exercise is given of creating an envelope or a surface like that, once it is created, post that if another level of adding a human scale inserted to them, so then someone might think of it as a very low height furniture, versus someone will insert a very small human thinking of it as a larger environment.
Correct.
So an understanding of scale and the spatial attributes through this, plus an added layer of how modular repetition and building can be done with.
Correct.
It can always be scaled to any material or anything in terms of an element, but I think for modular development it's a very good exercise, which I thought.
Correct. Yeah, so I think that's important thing, that you can always use this to teach the scale, at least in interior design kind of a studios and courses, where how you introduce a idea of a scale to students. Sometimes there is a danger also that immediately student will put something and they will imagine this is my building or a space or an interior kind of an object. So we have to do little wisely. Then after this, one more step you need to add, where they probably draw it out, right? They try to eliminate certain things, try to add certain thing, and then they add a scale. Otherwise it becomes very direct, that okay, I put a scale, this becomes my playground, some kind of an activity area or something. So there is little danger, but yes, you can use this for teaching scales. I am not saying that this is a lot of definitive things कि ऐसा ही हो सकता है, ऐसा. We are generating the kind of an discussion where what can you do with the idea of making in your studios or courses, whichever you want to teach, right? Ladli.
So I have thought it as a assemblage exercise for level 2 studios particularly, and this would be more of focusing on how you imagine the context. So there'll be a particular context given for the students, because I particularly have observed that they tend to lose on imagination by the time they understand the technicalities of creation.
Correct.
So if the exercise is floated or curated in a way where the first particular step is imagination, second is form building, and third is experience. So then how would you build the space? For example, if I'm saying that you have to use the elements, the two modules that are given as a structural strength, how do you understand roof? How do you understand support system? How do you understand it as a accessibility being a primary role? How do you create forms so that it can be converted to spaces not specific to typologies, but based on assemblage as a larger umbrella?
Correct.
So they can be exhibition sets, they can be museums that are very portable. How do you understand that in the context of space?
Correct.
So that will always, increase their imagination and also bring up the technicality that they have studied in the previous 3 semesters. So a little rigorous, but I think that this particular 2 forms itself creates that kind of approach, can bring that kind of flexibility.
Yeah, great. So this is what is like that. It's a modular approach, right? An assembly based approach, like kit and parts, and how you put together and then achieve. So mostly always we think of creating space or something like a spatial experience. Rather, this kind of exercise you can use to teach about structure, right? You can teach about construction, right? And you can teach also something about a kind of a strength and stability through this exercise. So not always it is to do with kind of an achieving a typology also, that I'm making a house or I'm making a pavilion or something, but I'm really using this for to test it. So even as we earlier discussed, that even within a framework of your studio, this is a small exercise to test out a stability structure of their design decisions, where you can say कि अच्छा बीच में एक time problem or something you intersperse and then try to build this and then go back to your again design decisions and discussions. Good.
Sir, the objective of this exercise could be to understand the elements in 3D space. The elements are like line, plane, volume, module, repetition, edge, corner, etc.
Correct.
And probably I will give the same brief, but 2 more added constraint. One is you should not use this plane as an horizontal plane.
Correct.
And another is it should give you should make maximum volumes with minimum use of this thing. So by adding these 2 constraints, I would like them to understand the resourcefulness of the individual object.
Correct.
And probably the outcome might be maybe they will be aware about the size and dimension and the relationship between these dimensions. And second is there will be they will also understand that there is no need of to enclose a volume to generate a volume. It can be open also.
Yeah.
And probably third, by doing this exercise, they will understand the importance of time. In the sense that what we observe in the students, they spend more time in thinking and less time in doing things. Whereas by doing this, they will be able to understand where to stop thinking and when to start making. So
Correct.
probably the importance of time is also something which they will understand through this exercise, I guess.
Good. I think this is another interesting take, that you need to understand the kind of a dimension of the given unit. So moment I use horizontal, it may sag, it may buckle or whatever. So accordingly they will try and apply where they want to use it, and then the openness, closeness and all those things. So I think fantastic. Sir.
Sir, same kind of exercise, but I added more constraint in that by using any 3 of Gestalt principles to organize the things.
Okay.
And they can explore the spaces with that, with the constraint of boundary, but it's open.
Okay.
It's not enclosed spaces. So they can understand the structure in better manner. Even though they can learn a spatial quality and design principles out of that, and they can also use this kind of application in design intervention in adaptive use or some building addition kind of process. And it should be also they can understand the relationship between proportional system of the elements. So I started the exercise with that only.
Correct.
So I started with what is the proportion of these 2 elements and what are the relation in between.
Correct.
Then I explored it, and then I started with how to bind it and how to make it flexible with the limitation. So limitation is my opportunity tool. Okay, and I use that tool and I try to make it something like that. So similar way, student can understand the structural aspect out of it.
Correct.
So that can be a primary focus of the exercise.
I think the interesting thing is proportion, and with that it's a ordering, basically how you order it, the whole thing. That is how then Gestalt and all those things can be an outcome, but this understanding can be developed through this kind of an exercises. Good, I think so. With this kind of a one exercise, right, and making quickly and understanding, we got to have a different viewpoints, and that's what the, I think, power of design, right? So there is no one viewpoint, there is no good, bad and ugly, but as earlier also we seen, there is an appropriateness to design for that particular context. Like the context in our case is teaching, what we are teaching, where we are teaching, what we want to teach them, rather, or other way we want to say it, that what we want them to learn from us, right? That is what is appropriate in today's context, rather than teaching them something. The whole scenario is changing now, right? So with that, I just want to show 1 or 2 slides at the end, and then we can finish. Okay, so I would like to conclude by putting this across, that making process equals to design process. So when we say design process, then there is a whole lot of stages involved, or rather we do step by step, or rather we take certain approaches, and then finally make a space, object, whatever, right? So for me, up till now I have understood that the making, when you are doing or start making at several level, starting with simple sketch, that is also making, right? You are making something in a sketch, right? After sketch, even when you are making a small little work like this, what we have done here, that is also making, to understand something, right? Even we make a mock-up, we make prototype, we make samples, lot of other different things. In that making process, we take several decisions in the project, or we teach students to take decisions, right? So for me, the making process is kind of a design process, and for that, these are some of the kind of a thing which, so functionality, where you say use, purpose, activity, right? So through this making, as we just demonstrate, that you can even think of functionality, ergonomics, anthropometrics, what she mentioned about scale, that we can think of user comfort. Somebody talked about structure, so mass, force, energy, right? Approach to materials, so finally you can start taking decision about materials. Approach to technology, how you want to make this, the whatever you want to make, right? Which kind of tools and techniques you will use to make the particular thing or a space, right? Approach to details, tectonics, derivation of form. Somebody talks, you talked about 2D, 3D form, the units, modules, all those things. Production processes, though, how you really streamline the whole sequence of making. Like somebody I saw, they make small module, then join to the bigger module, then they connect with another module, like that. Approach to proportions, so last we talked about whole idea of how one can understand the proportions and sequence, that whole order. Approach to geometry, and finally the once we make it, the whole idea of performance of the space or an object, right? So feasibility, viability, and finally the quality of the thing. So that's what in a nutshell we can think about, that making process is the kind of a equivalent to the design process. So this is what we generally do in any given a project, or either in the profession or in an academic side. So that's the way, and we covered a lot here in just doing this simple exercise. So I think you got the gist of what I'm trying to talk about today. And by this, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was really engaging exercise, as well as the brainstorming is also. It was an interesting session,